Satnam, I'm Nirvair, and I was lying in bed the other day thinking about God. And after all, I'm a creature created by a creator, and so got to think about God sometimes. And so I was just thinking about a phrase that you hear that you've got to love God and you've got to fear God. And it never actually really made sense to me. How can you fear God, And I realized I've kind of got my old Judeo-Christian thing, big guy up in the clouds, and paternal figure. But then Yogi Bhajan defined God in a different way, and that is the generating, operating, and destroying principle in the universe. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, this makes sense then, in terms of this idea of fear. And fear in itself, it's like, of course, I have a relationship with fear. Every human being that's ever lived does. And it's something that is, there's a whole, and I was thinking about fear then, well, what would it mean to be afraid? You get everything, from just an expression that really doesn't mean anything. It's almost like an apology when someone says, I'm afraid I'm going to have to do such and such, or that kind of thing. They're really not afraid. They're just basically preparing you for something you don't particularly like. And then there's, the white knuckle fear, where the adrenaline's really going and you're really petrified and, for instance, getting yourself locked into a cage with a bear, with in between the bear and its food, with only a rake in your hand. That happened to be, but that's a story for another time. There's that kind of fear. And all kinds of fear. But I think when you get these references, and actually Guru Nanak in Japji makes a reference. First of all in Mul Mantra, he says Nirvair, being Nirvair, revengeless, without revenge, lives right next door to Nirbo, and that is, without fear. Where he talks about that as being a quality of yourself that is a reflection of, essentially, God outside of you and God within. But right at the end of Japji, and actually the last stanza before the shlok, he's saying, Bo Kala Agan Tap Tau, which means, there's lots of different translations. With the fear of God, use, the bellows to get the fire going. That's one way of talking about it. Another way that it's been translated is like your awe and reverence. Let that motivate you and fan those fires of that fire, tapa, that allows you to understand yourself and purify yourself. And so when I think about it in that regard, that kind of fear kind of makes sense. In other words, it's a motivator. It's a motivator because God itself, that generating, operating, destroying power, is essentially this huge system that we're intimately involved with that allows you to work through your tendencies. So then my thoughts went to this all lying in bed about, what does it mean to be fearless? And of course we know, Guru Nanak also talks about being fearless in Mul Mantra, but also Yogi Bhajan talked about the quality of the pranic body and really having a relationship, and the strength of the pranic body, one of the 10 bodies, is to be fearless. And that is when you are linked up with that larger amount of energy, that prana, then there is no need to fear. And so let's think, how does that work? Well, first of all, usually when you're afraid, it's because you don't think you're going to get something, right? There's lack of something. There's something that's going to be taken away from you. But if you actually have the confidence in the relationship that things are going to flow, in these last 2 months we've been talking about the idea of abundance, then that flow does happen. And not only does that flow happen, but there's that motivation there for that tapa, for that self-improvement, so that if you do feel that fear, if you do feel that motivation, that awe, that reverence, that you allow yourself to correct yourself so that you can be into that flow of abundance, so that you yourself actually can live in the will of God. And so that's how it works. And so how fearlessness works in terms of the pranic body is something we're going to deal with today. We're going to do a meditation that actually Yogi Bhajan taught Nirvair in Alaska and also down in New Mexico, and told her, says, everybody you meet teach this meditation too. And it's for actually, enhancing your intuition, but also really strengthening your pranic body. And this particular meditation, first of all, we're going to do some preparation beforehand. We're going to do some breath of fire. And if you're not familiar with breath of fire, it's a rapid diaphragmatic breath. Heats the body up, makes the blood slightly alkaline, brings in a lot of energy in a very short period of time. And if you've not practiced breath of fire before or don't know what it is, you're actually, it's like 8 repetitions every 10 seconds, or it's something that's actually pretty fast, not too slow, not too fast. And the inhale and the exhale is exactly balanced. And so usually beginning teachers teach breath of fire by dog panting, like this. Everybody can kind of get that, but breath of fire is done through the nose so that you're stimulating Ida and Pingala, those nerve channels in the base of the nose. So breath of fire is like this. So breath of fire is balanced. The inhale and exhale are balanced, and it really brings in a lot of energy, a lot of fire, a lot of prana. So what we'll do for this sadhana this time is we're going to do the tune and mantra Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times to get ourselves ready for this. You'll do 3 minutes of breath of fire to prepare yourself, and it really does energize you so you can do the meditation, which is a little challenging. And that challenge is that you're going to chant the mantra Waheguru, 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 Waheguru 8 times on a breath, right? Sometimes it takes a little practice to get into this. The breath of fire definitely really helps. Sometimes you can only get 6 in, but eventually you find yourself relaxing and you get into the flow of the breath where you can, with practice, do those 8 repetitions on a breath. And so it sounds like this. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. I think that was 8. So anyway, and you're going to do that for 3 minutes of breath of fire and at least 3 to 11 minutes of this. Actually, when Yogi Bhajan taught, he said do 31 minutes of it. When you find yourself doing this, and you have to take these really deep, powerful breaths in between repetitions, when you're done, you're in a whole nother place, right? You're totally energized. And when that pranic body is energized, it's not just your fearless nature. You have a lot of stamina. You're able to resist stress. Anything that comes your way, you feel like you've got the inner resources to handle whatever comes your way. So, at the end of that, send some energy out, sing the sunshine song, get into that fearless state, allow yourself to be motivated for self-improvement, and just allow the energy to flow in the beauty of the universe. Okay, I'll be practicing with you. Sat Nam.